Alrighty. You should be able to hear me, I hope. Sorry I'm a little late today. I got my hair cut. So it ended up being a little bit later than I was expecting, but that's okay. This also fell off, which is very sad. It should be sticking to the side here, too. But it didn't break anything in here. What I do want to paint her soon, too. Alright. Yeah, I'm really behind right now because I, again, kind of just got back from my haircut, so I'm sorry if I'm a little frazzled. But welcome in. Thanks for coming to hang out with me for a couple hours while I paint today. A few quick things to do before I get started. One, if you aren't already following the channel, please do. If you have the financial ability to, consider subscribing. You can subscribe for free once per month with the Amazon Prime account with your Twitch Prime subscription. I would love it if that was me. Let's see. If you'd like to financially support me other ways, you can purchase something off my website, wheelersminis.com. Yeah. Follow me on all my socials at Wheelers Minis on pretty much everything. I think that's it. So today we're going to be working on this lovely model by Miniac. I did give her one big because she's going to go on a base, but I do want to get most of the work done on her today. Yeah, we're gonna work on her today. It's Miniac's most recent release, the cheerleader. I just liked it. I liked the way that he did it, and I wanted to test my abilities in painting busts because I've never painted a bust before. So we'll see how that goes. First and foremost, though, I'm going to put some more water in the palette. Because it's starting to dry out, and I want to make sure that it's got a good amount of water in there. I might also change out the paper because it's getting a little busy, but I think I'll wait. I'll do that next time. Thank you. Love you. Water in here. I gotta at some point soon because it's starting to, sponge is starting to dry out, and I've been really bad at making sure that that's taken care of. Okay, so first and foremost, nice little thing set up here. So that I can get started on her painting. And then that's it. Right. Cool. And then I need to wipe this this off. That is what I will be working on today. Oh, let's get water. One there. But I don't want it to be so hydrophobic that I can't put paint on her, because that defeats the purposes of painting today. But yeah, I had this fun idea for her because the high school that I went to had one of its teachers call a hit on another teacher. So I had this fun idea of making her the person who would have done the hit. So she's going to be modeled after no one in particular, just going to be modeled after a cheerleader for my school, my high school. So that's the idea behind it. That's what we're going to do today. Hopefully the paint sticks and doesn't make a mess of things. We're going to start. I'm going to make her more of a... Actually need to put on a few other things because she is... you're done, but even if not, just... There we go. Oh goodness, it might be a second before I actually start painting, which is honestly fine, but I'm just getting things prepped so that I don't have to worry about missing pieces with specific paints. Mostly the skin tone is what I'm worried about for the most part. This might be a majority of just getting things prepped. You were definitely not done. My wife asked if I could a bit. And this is just to get things, like I said, just to get things prepped, because a lot of the skin tone is going to be the same. Luckily, I'm going to start out with a base tone of, I'm going to make her a warmer skin tone person. So we're going to start out with a base of carnelian skin. Again, we've been using that a lot recently with our God, I can't think of the word. The carpet salesman that I finished. But I want to do this and then blonde hair, I think, is the idea. This is a little turned off to the side. Let me fix that. But yeah, blonde hair, and then it's going to be red and black. Because that was my school colors. So we're going to do red base with black trim. and put my high school insignia. Maybe not the specific like mascot one, but still. Starting with carnelian skin, just because it's going to give us a nice deep skin tone to kind of build up from. I think I will probably do a flesh wash on her, but we'll see when I get to that point. Right now we're just worrying about getting the base coat on, and then we'll start worrying about extras as time goes on. But yeah, I watched Scott's video and I'm starting to get more into larger scale painting, and I thought this bust would be a really good step into that. I could be completely wrong, but I guess we will see as time goes on. But it gave me it. He specifically talked about it. He was like, I'm making this so that you have, you know, a lot of room to work with, and like if you want to do anything particular, you can. So that's kind of my ideology for it. When I was having trouble trying to figure out exactly what it was, and then he did the video where he painted it, and I just got this kind of spark of like, oh, there was literally a hit that was called out on another teacher by a teacher at my high school. What if she was the person who in an alternate reality took the money and actually completed the hit, and disguised herself as a cheerleader? That's my idea. And then this also will just be a really good representation of like my abilities and seeing what I can come up with a finished product. Once we get to it, the black trim is going to stay this black because I'm going to use a satin black on it when we get closer to it. But I think for now it should be fine staying this the prime black that I used. And the satin's just going to give it more depth, but it's also going to look like the, you know, edge of a cheerleader uniform, because those are very neoprene-like at times. Just from what I'm recollecting. It's the band. I was not football team person. Doing warm skin tone, so just getting a good base down for this. Making sure that it's covering everything in a nice, even fashion. Oh, look, there you are, Scott. Thank you. Okay, that is skin tone. Good, I remember correctly. Yay! The only issue with that instant set stuff is, man, it has a smell to it. Probably is not something I should be inhaling, but you know, oh well. That's out, at least you'll know why. Probably would have been better to airbrush this on her, but I'm trying to work on brush skills. I will be, I'm going to Nova to get my tickets, but I'll be taking a class on airbrushing skin and organics. So I might start to do that as we move down the line with my painting career. Start painting more with the airbrush. For now, working with the brush is making me feel good. So that's what we're gonna mostly be working with. Yeah, and this is kind of the time to get it in places where it's not supposed to be because you can go over it. It helps when you're working down up. And then what you can do is just see any places that look like they might need a little bit of a second coat. It's not uber important that your base tone gets the most coverage because it most likely will have multiple layers on top of it. Having a good foundation for the rest of your paint job is never a bad thing, but it's really just personal choice. The more coats you put on it, the more texture you're going to get from the brush, so just be aware of that. But so far I like where we're going. And this color is Carnelian Skin by the Army Painter, part of their Fanatic line. It is the deepest of the warm skin tones. But I went to high school in Florida, so I was like, if there's anyone who's taken a hit that's going to be someone who looks like a cheerleader, they're probably going to be, at least in some way, shape, or form, just a little bit more warm skin toned. This project has reminded me that we oftentimes find our inspiration for how we want to paint in the weirdest possible way. Which is to say, as long as it's not hurting anyone, don't feel bad about what is inspiring you to paint something. But we're starting with a deeper color, so that way we can actually like work up in highlights. It's always easier to make things lighter. It's harder to darken them back down after you've done a lot of painting on it. So starting with a dark base will, one, kind of give you natural shadows, so you don't have to work as hard to put those in, but two, again, will also give you a good basis for working your way up. colors on the model. Darker. And always wait till your last coat dries, because it'll always dry a little bit darker than how it goes onto the model. So just giving it its opportunity to actually like breathe on the model and color it the way that it would, or it's supposed to, is always good before putting on a secondary coat. She's got nails too. I know that Scott did painted nails. I'll probably also do painted nails. Good idea. We're just working on getting the fingies painted. Same thing though. We're just going to focus on getting a good base coat on first before we start to work on any like hyper detail like nails. And to also be in line with the story that she has, she will have a metal bat, because if she's taking on the visage of a high schooler, high school baseball is mostly metal bats. That's what we're gonna go with. Right. I think that's her skin tone on there. Now let's make sure we get the skin tone on the other parts of her. Focus here real quick, or the head. And this is why it's not necessarily like, especially if you're using the same base tone, it's not hyper important to make sure that you're painting everything at the same time. It's more important when you're like, you have a specific mix that you're using, making sure that you're actually painting everything that is that color is very important. But so just in order to get everything, worrying about whether or not it's got color on it, we're just gonna kind of put a really deep, heavy layer on here. And then if you want, you can wipe off some excess of it, especially because she does have some eyebrows textured on there. But this is just making sure that she has, again, just the skin tone pretty much everywhere. So I'm not really worried about getting the eyes this color or such. I'm being a little bit careful with the hairline, but if some gets on it, again, this is the time for you to kind of get color where it's not supposed to be. The only thing I'm not going to do is the inside of her mouth, because that will be more obviously a very specific tone. We don't want to just paint skin tone. inside of her ears this color. That will be a shadowed place. I think I'm gonna have to do some research on, because her head is probably going to be the part that I spend most of the time on, just because it has the most detail to it. But something I am gonna have to research is how to get like a really good blonde, like almost platinum blonde hair color. I want to kind of start that off with. On because I still have another arm that I have to do. Right now I'm just making sure that I'm getting it where it needs to go. Really worried about the specifics right now, just making sure that every inch is covered. All my paint handles. I try not to completely mimic things, just because I like having my own journey with things, but I did like the way that he split up the model to paint it, so I am following that. Biggest thing that I will have to remember on this arm is that it is shaped a very specific way on the model when it's glued together. Just need to make sure that that is consistent. It's really fun seeing this color though in a more broad setting, because I'm so used to painting skin tones on like the smallest things. So being able to see it like across a long space that is quite open is interesting to me. The skin tone definitely lends itself to painted like this. The opacity is really nice on it. The lighter skin tones, the opacity tends to not be the best on. But this one, it's doing quite well. this little strip is. Bad. And same thing for the other hand. Just making sure that it's covering, not worried about the details that I'm going to do on the nails or what have you. Maybe that little armband that she has on, at least that's what it looks like to me, I'll do in like the style of my high school years. My heart movies or some shit. Uniform, again, I know the colors that I'm doing, but I'm questioning how I should start it, because the black, I think that's the black red, which it is kind of cool tone, so it might actually work really well for the
shit is messing with my
doesn't necessarily need to be all the way down there, but just in case when it gets glued on, glues on weird, I just want to make sure that it's covered. Okay, that's all the skin tone. Now I guess we'll start on dummy.
Crime that's building up.
Don't listen. I'm not stealing. I get rid of too much texture. Oh, it's covered by the hair, that's why. Go down the back. That makes sense. Okay. That's still good information for me. Where did I put the... Oh, yes. Okay. New color. Pro Acryl's new. I can't think of the word right now. I'm blanking. Collaboration. Jesus. New collaboration with Atomic Mass Gaming. They released some new paints. I didn't get all of them. I was going to, and I was like, I'm not going to use all of these. So I didn't get them. But we're going to start with this black red. It's perfect for what I want it for. So this is going to be our base coat for the uniform. Yeah, my school colors were black, red, and white. This is what we're doing as the base tone for uniform. Because we're going to move up, because like the red that I remember was a lot warmer, but I feel like this is a really good base tone for it because it's kind of cool, but there is a little bit of warmth to it. Like the red is a little bit warmer rather than cooler, but the black that it's mixed with makes it a little bit more cool. So that's why I went with this color as a base tone. Plus I just like it and I want to use more of my paints. Colored. Going on a little patchy, so I'm probably going to do a second coat just to make sure that it's covering the way that I want it to. It down properly. Nine times out of 10, when I'm having trouble with a paint, it's usually my fault. This black red is a really good, like, the way that it dries is a really good, like, Deadpool color if you're painting a Deadpool model. At least in my opinion. I might think differently. Pretty good color. And get some gore effects on her too. Go over with the second coat real quick just to make sure not to leave too much texture. It's the easiest thing, but saw a hair on it. I wanted to grab it off. Didn't stick. Let me make sure she is here too. That's really good base red. I like it. So for that, it's usually like a tape. I kind of like the idea of I guess it could be anything. It is mostly black. I kind of like the idea of it being something different, like a warm. Or maybe a pop of color. Green is complementary of red. It's gonna look too much like Christmas. That feels like a cop out. There's also satin, and that's gonna go. I guess it matches with the rest of it, so I don't know why it would. We'll go with black. Sure, why not? But her hand wraps. Hand wraps will do like a beige. No, because it's gonna match her skin tone. Do it like a white, like an off-white, like an ivory. I think I want to start it with warm brown. Maybe should have been used a little bit. We're just gonna go warm brown on these, and then again, we're starting out with a darker tone because we're gonna work our way up. And it's always easier to lighten something than it is to darken it. For the most part. Sometimes that's not true, but for the most part. I guess I should say not always, but for the most part. But I'm just starting with this kind of like very, very warm, literally warm brown. Because we're going to move up in like ivory and things like that to get the wraps the color I want them to be. But this is a good like shadow tone for them. Just to show some like use. I like the idea of making this an armband, so I'm going to paint it a different color than the rest, and I think this is where my pop of green is going to come from. I'm going to make it like one of those lime green ones. Out with the lowest of the vivid greens. I finished doing this. Again, really the goal right now is just to get a good base coat down on everything. I don't know if we'll go past that today. It'll be a shorter stream just because I do have to get ready for the con tomorrow. We'll see. I knew I wanted to work on her today, and I was like, oh, well, I'm streaming, so I might as well do it then. Yeah. Everything. And the parts that are a little close to where the skin tone are, I'll probably just come over this area with like a flesh shade or something, just to really darken those bits up so it's not too easy to tell. And there's a better delineation. Lowest of the vivid greens is Emerald Forest. Crazy that this is the lowest. Just to get color on here. Because she's so kind of warm toned and red, this green will be a nice complementary shock of color. Brown, missed a spot. Get some of that carnelian skin. Put the brush on this one. But back to it very quickly. Coat. Vibrant. That'll be my little bit of freehand work on this. Maybe I'll give her a tattoo or something too. Or it could also be funny and make it like one of those armbands you get to like get into a football game. Like that was the clue that she's not actually a cheerleader, because cheerleaders wouldn't have to wear those. I don't know, we'll see. That's that. And let's go back to her head for a second, because she has a bow in her hair that I'm going to make. At least I'm going to start it out in this black red. See where I go from there. I think Scott made his sequined. Which is a cool effect with some stippling. I don't know if that's me. But we'll see. Maybe when I get to this point, I'm going to start working on it a little bit more in depth. I'm like, you know, sequins aren't a bad idea. Again, I just don't know what I'm going to do about the hair right now, but I will do some research on that and see what I can get drummed up. All right, last little bit for today, probably. Again, sorry for a shorter stream. I just started late and I'm a little behind on things right now, getting ready for this con. So probably the last thing for today is I will get a nice good base coat of dark last bit of painting then is I'll get a good base coat of dark silver on the barrel. I'm probably gonna do, I mean, I've already got the paint on here, so I'm probably gonna do true metallic on this. I don't know, it just feels right for some reason. Don't ask me why. Probably because it melds very well with the color scheme, but I'm starting out with dark silver, and I probably won't move up too far from that color for this. Yeah, my mind just started kind of spinning when I got the idea for how to paint her. And immediately I was like, oh, I'll do the bat in metal because that's how high school, that's what they use at that level. For the most part, at least to my approximate knowledge. Paint the grip in satin. These little in between. And if it shows off a little bit. And then just to make sure that we're good spot with this, and we'll continue these on just a little bit, so that way when the hair is covering it, still has that metal shine to it. We're just going to go back over and see anything that might need just a little bit of extra love. Probably going to do my best too to paint a little bit of a shadow in here so it has a bit of a dent. I don't know, because that seems cool. Tone people look really good in gold. Safety pins here, silver. Just get those. A little bit of color in them. All right, a good starting point for her. I mean, getting paint on a model is probably some of the hardest thing to do. But as I guess a little bit of a filler for time, I am just going to quickly go over my routine for how I clean my brushes. So if you do have any questions about it, you have access to the information now. So I have both the brush soap from Pro-Acryl, but I also have this B&J, the Masters brush cleaner, which is a very common one to use. So what I do is I get the brush a little wet. I just kind of scrape together a bunch of the stuff. I take the palm of my hand and just kind of start brushing it a little roughly, but not so much that it kind of bends the bristles the wrong way. It is natural hair, so they tend to just kind of go back to, but like that, one of them was coming out. And then you just kind of like, as soon as you start doing that, you'll start to see some of the flecks kind of start to come up. And then you can go in and clean it like this. And then bring it back and move through your hand again. And if it's still dirty, go back to the soap. And then again, just kind of move it around a little bit. And lathering up in your hand is also good too, because of a step that I will do in a second. Let's see, gunk in there. You can kind of see in the bristles some of the leftover paint and stuff that's in it. But you're just going to keep kind of doing this until you get to a point that you're happy with. And then you're going to take a little bit of it and just kind of leave it on there. And try not get any bubbles. Gunk in there still. And just gonna come in here, lather, rinse, repeat, like you're cleaning your own hair. Once you've done it enough, this isn't one that I tend to use a lot except for metallics, so I'm not super worried about its outcome. But once you've kind of done it a decent amount of times, what you want to do is just run the brush back through the soap, leaving a little bit of it on there because it also acts as a preserver. And a brush conditioner, so it'll keep the bristles nice and soft. But same thing with this brush that I've used a couple of times. Coming through, being a little bit more careful with this one because this is one of my, I would say, nicer brushes, but just, you know, still kind of being not necessarily super rough with it, but rougher, making sure you're getting kind of like close to where the ferrule is and moving it around a bunch. And just come up with the water. Very nice. Going with this, and just kind of, it also helps when you take it to a point, because you want it to dry with a point, and then you just let it sit for a bit. So that's this one. And the other one that I have, obviously, is, as I said, the actual Pro-Acryl Gens Drunken Fantastics Drunken Brush Goop. It's a little bit different, obviously. But for their sable brushes, it's pretty much the same thing. You're just going to go in, get it nice and lathered up. It's off real quick. Same thing though. And then let's see, one of the hairs came out. I've been using this quite a bit. But kind of the same idea. Obviously, I use this one a little bit today, so I'm not too worried about it. Same thing, just get a little bit of that conditioner in there. Keep it at a point, and then put it on a drying rack. Ideally, you want it to be hanging down while it's being cleaned. But you can also do it sideways. It's just down until it's dry, and then down until it's dry, and then you can do it on its side. You don't ever want to do it upright because that'll get water into the ferrule and start to deteriorate the glue that's keeping the bristles together. So same idea for this one. It's just a little bit smaller, so you want to be a little bit more delicate, but kind of just cleaning it up a bit. And I do this every few sessions just to really like make sure that I'm getting the most life out of my brushes. Yeah, store it. One's size 0. I guess I could do 2 instead of that much, but best way to save money is to make sure you're using your brushes properly. This is a synthetic brush. You can clean synthetic brushes as well. It doesn't have to be just natural brushes. It just is most commonly done in natural brushes. But if you want to keep the synthetic fibers, nice and conditioned, I'd recommend doing this as well. It won't obviously do as much for you, but it still does something at least. And that's the fun thing too about the brushes is as they get cleaned, they kind of harden a little bit because of the conditioner on them. And then you have a really nice tip to come back to. But yeah, that's how I clean my brushes. And that's how I base coat my models. So thank you so much for hanging out for about an hour today. I really appreciate it. I will not be back next week. Next week will be my week off, I think. Or maybe the week after that. I don't know. Either or. I might be back next week. I might not. Who knows? But I appreciate you guys joining and hanging out. I really appreciate. I'm saying the same thing over again. Again, I'm a little frazzled, but start over. I appreciate you guys coming to hang out. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much. It means the world to me. Probably going to be streaming the journey that I have for her for the painting. But yeah. Come hang out with me and paint every Tuesday and Thursday. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Later. Good night.